Hello, and welcome back to Therapist Plays Disco Elysium. Okay, today's episode, we're going back to the hardcore. Yeah, it's time to catch up with our friends in the tent on the ice. Now that we've been through the church and we've met the Crab Man and Suna, I'm starting to think that maybe those kids had other motives than just making the church into an anodic dance club. We're gonna have to pull out all of our learned skills for this one, our empathy, our rhetoric, our logic, to see if we can peer through the veil of what we were initially quite easily deceived by. And maybe, just maybe, we can actually come to a very positive and balanced, compromised solution that both attends to our role as an officer of the RCM and keeping the law and order of Revachol, but also our sort of self-identified role of helping its youth through some of their own problems. So yeah, I thought this was a really fun interaction. I hope you enjoy it too. So let's jump in. Hello, and welcome back. All right, so what do we actually need to do next? Well, for the case, I believe we're still trying to investigate where potentially the shots fired at the Whirling and Rags came from, so we're still going to do that. But we've got other things going on. I gotta see what's going on with my favorite. What do they call themselves? Ecclesiastic, techno, whatever's. We gotta talk to the kids, and I really want to see if how Kim plays with it.
Come on, get in. The warm stuff's getting out.
Let's squeeze in, Kim.
Sorry, we barely have room for one.
Oh, they're not gonna let him.
I'm too old for this.
No, no, you're not, Kim.
I'm actually not, he thinks. I just dislike delinquents.
I know he's not.
I'm sure you will feel right at home. I'll keep watch.
Okay, Kim. You keep watch. Ah, fuck. YouTube is gonna make me cut all this out, so apologies. Okay, let's tell them what we found. What was it? What was the check that I couldn't pass with them? Was it like a what's the one that lets you detect lies? I think it was rhetoric that I failed to detect that they were bullshitting me. So let's see. Do I have anything that can give me some rhetoric? Some logic? It's gonna make my rhetoric worse. I wish I could set up builds that I could quickly swap in and out. Okay, I have to detect some lies. Let's pop on the polo and the other stuff. Okay, let's talk.
Hi again. So, how are things going?
Ooh, it's my logic as well. Well, I definitely have some stuff that can help with logic. Logic is up 2 right now. Let's see here. I could pop the jacket on. Logic is up 3 now. Let's we'll return to the rhetoric. I think logic is what we actually need. Some logistical glasses. Dude, we are we're becoming so intelligent. We're gonna go from an 8%er to bro, I have actually so much equipment for this. Oh wait. What did I just take off? That actually made my logic worse. Something. Oh, this. Okay, this actually gives me 2 logic. My little beanie, whatever that is. Any logical pants or anything? Okay. I think we're maxed out.
Hi again. So, how are things going?
42%er. All right, we're gonna try it out. Maybe we'll get some points through this dialogue. Okay, let's tell him. We checked out the church.
And what happened?
I talked to the crab man.
Oh man, who is he? What did you think?
He gave me this odd lecture on alcoholism for rambling on and on about mother's love. Seemed okay, to be honest. Very spiritual. That's true. He wasn't like threatening or anything. He was a pretty easy guy to talk to, all things considered.
Really? Huh. Interesting. What's he doing in the church?
Just preaching and praying from the looks of it.
No matter. Is he going to be a problem? Yeah, Noid is right. Let's get back to the point. What are we going to do about him?
What do we need
guys
to
will
do?
never catch him. You will never catch him. There's nothing to do.
Let's just let him keep to himself. He's not hurting anybody. He keeps himself physically active, thinks spiritual thoughts, and doesn't drink. Who am I to evict such a person? It's pretty reasonable. Actually, he told me he wouldn't mind the nightclub at all. That's also true.
I don't know, man. Doesn't it feel like a major hindrance to you? A spooky guy climbing around when all the guests are trying to have nice, friendly hyper time?
That actually sounds like a pretty cool staple of a new nightclub. Look, you're just gonna have to live with the.
I guess it's not a massive problem now that I think of it.
Everyone is welcome to dance till the morning light. Yeah!
Yeah, look, Egghead's he's pretty cool with the crab man.
Maybe. I guess we'll figure something out. Okay, but what about the other spooker? The one in Grandma's clothes? Did you see her?
I was using the mainframe when Suna, the former lead programmer of Fortress Accident,
A
appeared.
programmer? That's odd. What was she like? Did you ask her about the nightclub?
She said, "You guys haven't been completely honest with me about your plans."
Come on, man. Who will you trust? The spooky programmer or us? We just want to make the world a better place.
I kind of, after meeting Suna, I trust Suna. I trust Suna way more than you.
Feel the love. Get down and feel it.
The stuffy tent muffles the last two words. The command fails to impress.
A half-hearted sell of something which does not seem worth buying.
The love? No, I'm really not feeling it at all. So remember, from our character's point of view, he was not able to detect that they have other motives than they are presenting. But we were also very impressionable by Suna as a sort of like, Harry's a pretty impressionable person generally. And that carries through with, like, you know, when these guys initially presented their thing to him, he was like, yeah, okay, let's go with it. But Suna presents a more grounded and mature type of person, which I think like resonates with our desire to be a more mature professional person ourselves. So yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of not feeling it as much anymore, guys. I'm starting to feel a little suspicious here. I'm not really feeling the love.
You'll get there, believe me. When we've got our gear set up, things will be flowing and pumping.
Plus, I know one of you kids, or I believe it's one of you, sells headphones. I've not let that go.
Anyway, now that it's settled, how did she seem? I mean, disposition-wise, about the dance club idea. Yeah, Oda 9. Rocking it or dropping it?
9. She did not like the anodic dance club idea.
What a pity. That's my favourite thing in the world. And she doesn't like it at all.
A shame. What can we do now? Do you see a way out of this jam? And into a laser-lit future of dance and unity? Unity! Dance!
She made it very clear that she won't leave until her own project is finished.
And you can't just evict her?
No, I won't evict her. No, I'm not doing it.
Look at you, honour man.
That's right.
Lloyd, he's right. Maybe we've approached it the wrong way after all. I'm sure there's a workaround. We can make a deal not to bother her. If that's okay with her, we only want to get in the church and spread the joy and ecstasy of music.
I don't know if that's going to work.
The lines in the dark exist. Coexist.
At least Crabman seems like an advanced being. He's hard. He'll understand.
Yeah, he can do his climbing thing in the tower. And the programmer, does she like anodic dance music?
She absolutely does not. Really, truly despises it. That's true.
Egghead cannot believe what she just said. It makes him pump the jam. Slower for a moment, but then he returns to the full swing of it.
No worries. We'll figure it out. If coexisting fails, you can always muscle her out, right? If it's all okay with you, what do you think?
I refuse to throw her out, but I can try convincing her. That's the thing. And especially, like, our priorities have shifted around since the last time we spoke to these gentlemen. Without any other influences, we were open-minded to, potentially exploring what they wanted. But now we've got Kim involved, and Kim is perhaps our greatest source of impressionistic leaning. We're very impressionable to Kim, because he is currently the safest person to us, and he's validated so many of the changes that we've gone through, while also being a good boundary setter for the when we do fall back into old ways. And now the Kim is involved with the he's interested in the silence thing, and it's also potentially related to the case. So this whole thing has really fallen down the ladder in terms of what I'm willing to do to help them. I'm not going to throw her out.
Excellent. Good luck, my friend.
Okay. We're at 58% here. I feel like we've been really fortunate to have really specialized in our psyche, and yet we've passed quite a few logic and visual calculus checks over time, despite not really investing a lot in them. It's all about the gear game. Okay, let's try it. Let's confront them on this. Come on, Harry, you got this.
The number of
Yes!
things don't add up.
Yes!
Let's take a look.
We don't need proper education. We just need well-fitting clothes that make us feel smart.
How about gather around, kids?
Okay, kids, now gather around. Is drama lying to me? That sounds like a terrible way. I mean, we passed the check. I'm gonna follow Drama's lead. Okay, kids, now gather around.
The young speed freak puts down a busted capacitor and looks at you. The one with the large head seems very enthusiastic about whatever you have planned. Their would-be leader is less amused.
So here's an interesting psychological perspective to put on this. Not at all my forte, but there is an aspect of I guess some therapeutic styles called transactional analysis. And it's all about perceiving when people are in dialogue, what sort of ego state are they in? Depending on the language used and the posture and the context of what's being said, you can perceive someone who is speaking from a point of authority as being the parental ego state, both from your perspective and from the other person's, because that's one of the most early archetypes of understanding who to listen to and what the rules and boundaries and values of our decision making should be. And so our subconscious calls on this archetype to lead us through dialogue. And so you can be quite influential to people if you can find your way into being the parental ego state to them. The way you're talking to them makes them feel like they are talking to a parent without them really knowing, let's say. And there are very simple things you can do for this, using someone's name, which we've got right here. Using someone's name, just think about it. When your parents were, when they really wanted to make a point, they'll use Brady, what is this? Right? Like the use of that name rather than a more common or like less serious, less formal way of calling someone, like hey kiddo, right? Um using someone's formal name automatically like puts your brain in this like, oh, this is a little more serious. And that's kind of like what this is saying to me. Okay, kids, now gather around. Let me see if I can find like a graph of this. The ego states we tend to end up in are like parent, adult, and child, and like variations on that. So, like, when you present yourself as the nurturing parent, it's a voice of unconditional acceptance, hope, and optimism. It's like a soothing approach, right? That's going to, according to this theory, like trigger a certain kind of response from someone else, um, which is like potentially the child state, right? And maybe it's like one of these ones, or you can come at this as a critical parent. You could try to use your voice of authority or whatever, right? So depending on how we wanted to go at this is like what we would probably. Um, you're gonna get that reaction if I was like, "Hey, I think you're lying," like they're gonna they're gonna fall back into like more of the type of child like position um that rejects that. Or potentially they could end up in an adult ego state as well. So what this shows is that there are like different ways that these types of transactions end up. What we're trying to go for here is the complementary style. We're trying to take the perspective of a parent and get them into the ego state of a child, which is a very collaborative way to speak to someone, going off of like the confrontation styles we talked about last time. However, sometimes things don't go this way, right? So a crossed type of transaction is like I'm speaking from the position of an adult peer, and I am looking at the other person as an adult peer, but they're not reacting to me that way. They're reacting as if they're a child speaking to a parent, right? So this would be me saying to like a friend or a colleague, um, confronting them in a certain way, like, "Hey, did you take care of that favor that I asked you to do?" Right? Um, not particularly confrontational, but if the person is highly sensitive to that and it triggers a feeling of getting in trouble and not being able to live up to expectations as a child, they may view me as the parental, like in their mind, that's the ego state I'm in, and they respond from the child, and they're like, "No, would you fucking get off my back?" Right? For example, and now we're like at incompatible or unintended ego states, which is how communication can break down. And there's all kinds of different variations on this, which are pretty interesting. This is not something I really think that much about. It's one of those theories that I'm aware of, and the only times where it comes relevant to me is like it's sort of this background thing that I'm thinking of when I'm like, especially talking to someone who is, a youth, that I try to be mindful and sensitive to. I have no idea what this person's upbringing was like necessarily. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, depending on like if we've done a full assessment. But yeah, I mean, I always take the more like nurturing, calm perspective. Exactly like I was talking about before, like more focused on educating someone than criticizing them. I try to at least. Um, it's much easier to do that when I'm working because I'm thinking a lot about that. But like in our personal lives, I think we are not always thinking about that, and we act a little more impulsively on things. But I can imagine this being pretty relevant for someone like Harry, who, like a therapist, has to speak to people in a certain context, and he's trying not to lean on his authority, right? Too much, depending on who he's talking to. Some people, he might really lean into that and say, like, yeah, I'm the law, because he feels like that's uh, the kind of ego state that's necessary. for someone to be in to react to that. But other times, like when we've talked to Estelle or Fritta Girl, like we may have wanted to be in some of these other combinations, just depending on who we're talking to. Our transactional way of speaking with Kim is probably something like this, right? Kim tries to speak to us as an adult to an adult, but we like see him as a parent, like as a better role model than just a peer, which is just kind of interesting. And yeah, as a therapist, like I'm not in a position of authority over someone's behavior. I think that's the approach I always try to take is like, look, I am trained in exploring and navigating complex psychological and emotional issues, but that doesn't make me an authority on like, I think you should do this or I think you shouldn't do that. And you kind of have to alternate this. Like you have to navigate who you're speaking to, the way you're speaking. And I imagine it's not different as a detective who you're going to come across people of various backgrounds and experiences. And you have to be able to pick up on like, okay, if I'm trying to get information from them or I'm trying to get them to understand something, the way I talk to them is going to be very important. So given this, the way that we introduce this, okay, kids, now gather around. By calling them kids, I am enforcing myself as the, like, at least the adult, but probably the parental ego state and them in the child state, which if they are agreeable to, if they have some kind of respect for me or recognize my status or something, they may attend to that. And it seems like they have, right? Egghead's pretty enthusiastic. Noid is listening, and Andre is, he's amused. So let's move forward with this. And like I said, using someone's first name and their formal name is another way to really make that land, that like I'm speaking from a position of authority, but also I'm trying to soften the impact of this. If I were to say something like this, sometime in the past, I'm not sure when and where, but betrayal was involved. I fell sick and became the shadow you see now, but before that, I have reason to believe I was a police detective. This is too peer to peer. It's too apologetic, which we've done a lot of apologizing, but I think that's partially like, yeah, we assume that like child who is in trouble and is apologizing because we're looking to the people who we respect or look up to for forgiveness, which is often afforded by peers or parental figures, right? So I'm going to go with this one. We've been doing this show for like 40 plus episodes, and I sometimes I'm like, who the fuck is still enjoying me give like a 30-minute explanation for one dialogue choice? But I appreciate that you're still here. To me, the value of doing this kind of thing is to highlight how well written the game is, because whether they knew it or not, the writers have a very fundamental understanding of how people are. And as a person in the field of psychology, I'm always excited to back that up with like, not only is this just good dialogue, like it's well written, but given the context and the character we are and the things that we are able to do in this dialogue, it's backed up by like things we actually use in clinical practice. So I hope you enjoy this kind of stuff still. Let's just go for it. I've got bad news for you, Andre. The things don't add up.
What things?
He senses something is wrong.
Suna said you've been lying about your plans. Your answer was very unconvincing. This isn't the makings of a club. It's a tent full of laboratory equipment for manufacturing drugs. So I don't want to nail him right away with that. In a sense, I want to give him the opportunity to say what's really going on, if I want to give him the opportunity to sort of, from his perspective, have that relief of apology or relief of honesty. But if I offer myself, like, here's what's going on, um, the only thing I'm going to offer him is the opportunity to feel shamed, right? Um, probably a bit of shame regardless, but let's just, let's lead him in. Suna said you've been lying about your plans. Your answer was very unconvincing.
Fuck, man. It's difficult to get along with some people, but we're trying to make an effort. We are on a mission here.
Okay, so he didn't come clean just yet, so it's the only other choice we have. This isn't the makings of a club, it's a tent full of laboratory equipment for manufacturing drugs.
I have no idea how you arrived at that conclusion, but it's wrong. Look, we even have speakers.
Okay. This is very parent-child-like.
One speaker. They have one speaker.
Where's his friend? Did he lose his friend? You have no headphones. Wouldn't Estelle need her headphones to spin tape? So this is similar to how I talked about the way to educate children, or one of them, in the last episode, which is like simulating dialogue. It's very similar to what I was talking about, where I was like, wow, there's so many toys on the ground. Like, how could I get across the room without hurting myself? And then, like, the child figures it out. That's exactly this. Saying exactly this. I fucking love when the game does this. Where's his friend? Like, did he lose his friend? Like, I'm going to use that same language and not dig too deep from the parental side, but, like, sort of meet them here.
What do you mean, friend?
The other speaker. You only have one.
It's a one-speaker system. It's monodynamic. You wouldn't know the first thing about sound reproduction in anodic music. Other speaker.
Okay. He's digging deep. He's digging deep into this. You have no headphones. Wouldn't Estelle need her headphones to spin tape? Like, I guess it could be condescending in a sense, depending on how you say it. But again, coming at it from curiosity rather than judgment. But you don't have any headphones. Like, isn't that also necessary for the club? Like, I don't understand. So help me understand.
What do you know about spinning tape? Nothing.
Here's where I would be like, no, I don't, but try to explain it to me. Like, the distilled water, cornerstone of clean lab. Now we're being a little sarcastic.
And of all cellular-based life, what's your point, Lawbringer?
Okay, now we're not being too successful in getting out that, like, confession, I guess. But let's see how it goes. There's no need for me to pile on anymore, is there?
No shit.
In short, you tried to use a police detective to set up a drug lab. Okay, now we're going to step back into the parental role. And we gave them the opportunity to sort of meet us there as, and be honest, but they didn't take it. So we have to step back into, like, okay, well, let me summarize for you. This is what happened.
Come on, that's...
Punishable by summary execution. That's too heavy-handed. Preposterous?
I meant to say, not true.
So what are we going to do with you?
What do you mean, do?
There's resignation in his voice. He's almost ready to drop that.
Okay,
It wouldn't take a lot of pushing.
we are getting there.
The optimal way to go about this would be indifference. It begins by you telling him you don't care about any of this.
Okay, so suggestion. So look at the options we have. We do this lawman style. First you tell me everything, then I pass judgment. This would be coming from a very critical parent transactional point, right? Monitors adherence to rules, shoulds and musts, and expectations of self and others. So sort of relying on hopefully, like, passing judgment. Oh, I don't know if you could see that, sorry. Yeah, passing judgment, right? And then I pass my judgment. Our second option, you tell me what's really going on here and we'll work from there. I can be lenient, more of a nurturing parent. I don't really care. I just wanted to crack the case. Do what you want and and I'll do what I want. Maybe stepping down into the adult, right? Like, look, we're both adults here. You're capable of making your own decisions. In this case, it's like, look, you don't need me anymore to tell you what to do. I've already made my position, and you and I both know, whether we've spoken openly about it or not, that you haven't been truthful. And so, like, the real point of change here can come when the child themselves decides, you're right, it's going to be my decision to do the right thing, rather than me saying, if you don't do this, you're punished. My personal belief, if you know how to motivate someone, you don't need to discipline them. So right now, the way we're trying to motivate them is to now step down into more of like, look, we can both be adults here, and look, you make your own decisions, but sort of secretly, I know you'll feel pretty bad if you don't. So we're gonna go with, I don't really care. I just wanted to crack the case. Do what you want, and I'll do what I want.
Really?
Sounds relieved. Really, really, I wanted to ask you about something else. I guess, okay, suggestion, don't fail me here.
You wanted to just ask me about something else.
Okay, it's working. Shrug is pretty indifferent. But is this too much bait? I mean, I feel like, yeah, you can tell me what the plans for the church really was. Like, I don't really care. Let's give it a shrug.
He thinks for a moment, then opens his mouth, but closes it again, then finally raises his hands.
Things are just way too hard for an entrepreneur in this city. It's not like we're not going to turn the church into the wickedest club in East Weathershall.
But
Because we are! We totally are! We just got to turn it into a speed lab first.
I see. So it's all coming out.
You know, to get our foot in the door.
And why did you need me?
Like I told you, spooky arseholes moved in while I was getting all this stuff together. A month ago, the place was empty, and now it's all spooked up.
And they're not really spooky, are they?
No, man. They're spooky, all right. It's just that they would also probably call the police if we started cooking speed in there.
So there's still some defense mechanisms here. There's still some justification. It's his way of being honest with what his plans were, while still being able to hide behind the emotional rationale of, well, we're still also going to do this other thing, and, we're just trying to keep the peace.
But the sign was way off, too. I couldn't feel the love at all. So, what now?
This is it. Judgment time.
Okay, authority. So we can ask for a bribe. We're not going to do that. We can arrest them. We're not going to do that either. Get lost. I don't want to see you again. I don't think that follows with the way that we've approached this. Like, I think that we've pretty deftly handled. Here's the thing with transactional analysis and the way to get what you want while not destroying relationships. That's what it's about. It's like, I can appeal to these kids' earnest desires while not passing judgment on them or using fear of consequences to manipulate them. Like I said, if you know how to motivate someone, you don't need to discipline them. From what I have seen, my experience, fear is a very short-term motivation. You tell someone not to do something, and if they do it, they'll get punished. But the second you're not around to see it, the behavior tends to continue. If it does, and the fear works, but what you've done now is instill a value in them that, like, fear and authority are the way to motivate people, which I don't think, like, leads to good adult values either. This is really why when they put uncomfortable images of tarred lungs and that sort of thing on cigarette packages, this does not deter people from buying them, because the fear of the consequence is really only a temporary short-term negative motivator, right? People I know who smoke would just buy the pack and then like rip the package off or tape over it or something. And now I don't think they do that anymore at all. But fear I don't find to be a very good motivator. What I find to be a good motivator for long-term change is instilling better values. So allowing someone to explore safely the idea of being honest and vulnerable and admitting wrong without then also consequencing that. Like, what would I be teaching this child if he admitted that what he was going to do was in self-interest and potentially illegal, or definitely illegal in this case, and then the reward for that is I consequence him? No, what I want to do is present this as like a compromise. This is a very compromising sort of confrontation rather than a competitive one or an accommodating one, which is to say, let's do this clean. No speed lab, just a club for erotic music. Proceed with the club. This goes along with what I talked about in some other episodes where we were saying that there is an effort to reclaim places, especially ritualistic ones like a church, for other means. And I think it'd be pretty cool if they turned it into a club and had the crab man there, and maybe some of the spookiness could be a cool factor, but let's not do the drug thing. It's all a part of stabilizing Revachol's youth. So let's go with option number 4. Let's do this clean. No lab, just a club for erotic music. Proceed with the club.
Yeah!
Compromise. The young man's smile widens to inhuman proportions. His teeth beam in the floodlight.
I knew it.
The would-be leader drops his spiked head between his knees.
It's impossible now. No, Andre, it's harder now. This hard cop has come to show us how much the fish is, and the fish is always so much more. We all know there was never going to be a club for erotic music with the Speed Lab. Now it has a fighting chance.
What's that about a fish?
There needs to be a club for erotic music in there. Needs to. Everyone hates each other. Everybody hates it here. It's all just drugs and we're slaves, and I can't. We are running out of time. We need a win, Andre. I promise this will be a win. We won't cook speed in there. We'll do it clean. We'll do it true. We'll do it sober and real and beautiful. This will be a victory for the light.
Fucking Eggman for president of Revachol. Let's come back to, yeah, it's kind of this now, right? Like a parent speaking to a child and they're speaking to each other as peers or equals, potentially maybe this, which, like I said, motivation based on values, not based on fear of consequence. This is an evolving set of values, an evolving set of like willingness to change by saying we don't have to do it for the drugs. In fact, it'll be better without them. And they may be motivated by this in a deeper sense, like when they think about other people's struggles with narcotics in the future.
This will be nothing.
Ah, fuck you, Shivers. Shivers just spoiled. It just gave us a spoiler that they're not going to do anything with it. Look, we're trying here.
You can hear the ice crack underneath you. Outside, the last century waterfront development is crumbling in the wind. A grape-shot row of falling houses. And so is Rue de Saint-Jérôme and all the houses on Main Road. The old cinema is sinking underneath Villa La Bosse.
So Shivers is just telling us that none of this is going to matter? Oh, come on, Shivers. You got to have more hope than that. Wait, does anyone feel that?
What?
Nothing. Let's call this incident crime prevention, but I have my eye on you.
Okay, we'll try to do it without the drugs. We'll do a straight club up in there, spinning the maddest reels and nothing but I swear to God. Okay, Egg?
Yeah. Listen to Egg.
From here on, it'll be straight all the way.
It's Egg for president.
Goodbye, officer.
Ah. It's a hard encounter. Okay, now we got to talk to Egg.
A
the
young man with
future president.
peroxide blonde hair holds up a Harman Walshy tape player, nodding along to the music. He looks at you with a knowing smile and says, as though we're supposed to be sharing some tremendous evangelical secret,
Hardcore!
Okay, is it?
It's hardcore!
I don't know what to say to that.
Skibbity, skibber danger. I am the rearranger.
Fucking Egg is the best character.
your cop training did not prepare you for this. What to do?
I have no fucking idea.
Could there have been a right way out of this garden of forking paths, you think?
I feel like we found it already.
Huh? I see you're here again. Off-sign, man. Did I mention getting us into the church would help?
Yeah, I saw the sticker on the padlock.
The sticker? You mean the yellow one? Can you describe it to me?
It's a yellow circle, the human face with X's for eyes and a smile underneath.
Good, good. What did you want to know?
Is it a dead guy smiling?
Yes, you're the 23rd person to get it right. And I've asked 23 people. Smiling to the entire human race.
Okay, really?
Really?
What do you? Why do you think that's
We're
so?
all the same. Same eyes, same smiles, same death.
This is this little band of future philosophers. Okay, what does it
We
mean?
defeated history. We are living in the age of history, and in the eyes of history, we are always already dead. How can we ever smile then? Because history is a lie, and so are its deaths.
Okay.
The moment in life are the hardcore. The hardcore expels death.
The present moment and life are the hardcore, and the hardcore expels death. Like, is he not making a terror management theory play here? That like, and a Gestalt one? That working things out in the present is a protection from death anxiety. This is very true, though. The present moment. I don't know if I mentioned this when I talked about Gestalt, but yeah, that's one of the parts of it, along with like the present awareness of emotions. But it's the difference between let's talk about that relationship in the past and what it meant to you then, versus let's imagine that person is sitting here right in front of us and what is the dialogue. We're not talking about something. We're not talking historically. We're bringing that person and the emotions attached to them here, present, right now, where they are more observable and more like primed for our analysis of meaning. So you always avoid dealing with the past. You talk always in the present tense, which is just an interesting approach.
Or maybe he's not dead. Maybe he's just really ecstatic about the beats.
Okay, maybe so.
Or drugged out of his mind, come to think of it.
That's better not mention it.
He blinks, waiting for the next
I think
question.
we've exhausted the subject.
Well, I guess one could write an entire treatise on the thing. But what for?
I can't really disagree. What about now? What are the signs all right now?
Nah. Still strongly out of sync. Stage gamma disalignment.
Okay.
You heard me.
Okay, I'm defeated by Noid. I genuinely don't know how to navigate that one.
Hi again. So, how are things going?
I know Noid has his signs, but what's the deal with Egghead there, future president of Revachol?
He's a quiet man, mostly communicates through music and by being a master of ceremonies.
What's a master of ceremonies?
You know, a host, a declaimer of slogans. He's a performer, gets the people going.
How do you communicate with him?
Well, he's just kind of here. I don't really know how to communicate with him.
Have you ever really talked to him?
Yeah, sometimes. When I stumble and find my way into his centre, you have to hear a lot of hardcore to the mega first though.
The man smiles mysteriously. choosing to let the beat
I
speak for
I think
itself.
Egghead is the most intelligent person in this little troop. Clearly, he has the stronger center and expression, and his peers cannot figure him out. It's fascinating.
Goodbye, officer.
Goodbye. Okay. We've solved a crime by prevention. Kim! Kim! You fucking missed everything. So much for not wanting to go into the tent. Did you see what I did? I prevented the crime of youthful drug operations. It's a shame he doesn't get to see that. That's okay. I'll just tell him about it. Oh man, this was a fucking saga. Okay, I think the last thing we want to do is talk to Estelle. Maybe there's something we can learn about where the headphones went, or at least catch her up on things.
Hello again.
Your associates tried to use me to set up a drug lab. I'm guessing you knew of this plan. Okay, now we're definitely being the parent.
I did, and I'm sorry. For what it's worth, which isn't much.
Don't be so down on yourself. It's worth everything.
This is why I didn't go into the tent. Typical delinquency.
Kim, if you hate delinquency, you should have seen that we prevented more Kunos from entering the world. You should be happy with that.
You don't get to choose your posse, they choose you. Mine are idiots, but they're mine. I tried to talk Andre out of it. I even tried not to lie to you.
This is a real mature one here.
Indeed, she merely tried to omit the truth instead.
Instead you opted to admit the truth. It's the same thing. I feel like the way we were saying this is not, to accuse her, but it's just to. We're not ridiculing her for doing this. I understand that, look, your allegiance is to your peers, typically more so than authority figures, and I don't blame her for omitting the truth. It's part of not wanting to accept some of the only close relationships she has, and trading, potentially getting in trouble for that.
I know, but I knew you'd see through their plan too. I'm not an idiot. I should have been able to control them, and I will in the future. I promise.
This has real, look, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed energy. But that I also forgive you.
May I ask, what did you tell them?
Do what you want with the dance club plans, just no drug labs, please.
Thank you. I'll get them under wraps, I promise.
I feel like we actually navigated this one well. Look, I know I haven't been the best at navigating some of these other challenging scenarios with Glacia and Kuno. But narratively, we've learned from those things. We learned that we didn't handle things the best with Kuno because we started off as a pretty authoritative and poor authoritative figure. We basically modeled his dad. We tried to fucking hit Kuno at the start, which naturally resonates with his defiance of his abusive father. Then as we started to learn more about ourselves and recognize our wrongdoings, we tried to appeal to him as a more calm authority, but the damage was already done. He saw us as dishonest and betraying him. And we fucked that up because we didn't navigate that role of authority very well with him. With Glacia, our own emotions were compromised because of our own history and trauma with relationships, abandonment, and the fear of doing more harm to someone that we care about. And we didn't necessarily handle that the best way either. This one, I feel like we threaded the needle as best we could. We're not creating a drug lab. The kids don't feel like they're not going to go into life with a schema now that says cops are always bad authority figures who judge you and are there to get you in trouble. We may have instilled in them that the value of honesty is understanding in return. And that the world is a reaction to you, and so like you sort of get out what you put into it. And if we put into it constant negative authority and lies and manipulation and all of these sort of things, then that's the kind of environment we're going to create as well. So that's another case solved. And we also did the majority of it without Kim, which is another point of like positive self-reflection for us that can start to break that insecure attachment with Kim. Remember how like when we found the gentleman down at the dock, we were like, I need an adult. We're also learning by doing more things like this that we don't always need an adult. We were actually able to safely navigate the sensitivity of Estelle's emotions, the ethics and professionalism with the kids in the tent and the figures in the church, and also to like put something good into the world and not overstep our own authority, and we can do so with confidence. And all of this contributes to a higher level of self-esteem, which, as I have talked about, is the immune system for consciousness. And the higher your self-esteem, the more protected you are from the threats of anxiety and depression and self-doubt. So there's a positive feedback of all of these things, and everything is connected. Okay. I guess we have to figure out what we're going to do next. Maybe next we try and we try to follow up with that gentleman we found on the boardwalk. We're gonna do this and go inform his spouse. I guess we're not totally done with the egghead puzzle, but yeah, we'll follow up with the spouse, and eventually we'll get back to the case. However, everything is about the case. Yeah, this is what we're going to do next, is to determine where the shot came from. And we still got plenty of stuff to do out here. We got to take the stuffed bird to Gart, inspect the traps, talk to Titus, probably have to figure out what we'll do with this. I believe someone said that there's a place I missed down here. That's okay with me. Like, if I'm just missing a location because I'm bumbling around, and you say, hey, there's a building you missed, you can go check out. I'm happy for that kind of guidance. So yeah, there's plenty more to do in solving the puzzle of the human condition here in Martinez. Which will continue next time.